When fighting on screen, there's a lot of different ways to create action. With punches, with kicks, with knees, with elbows, using objects, but also a very common one is the headbutt, especially because it's a standalone strike. Using the headbutt can finish a fight straight away, but it can be very dramatic. Sometimes it might be within a fight scene, but there is various moves before and after, but a lot of times the headbutt will stand on its own. Especially if it's like a mafia movie, a crime movie, or a movie where somebody just needs to dispose of somebody really quickly. Let's look at how to stage a headbutt safely. Like with punching, we need to work out the safety distance first. And we have to work out how am I staging the headbutt, on which side my head will be, on which side my partner's head will be. So just to start off with, I'm going to favor with my head the camera at the moment, but then we're going to swap it around. The most important thing is that again there is a good safety gap. So I'm going to be in good proximity to my partner, and when I'm moving my head through space to cover, as I said, my head between the lens and my partner's head, I want to make sure there is a good gap here. And so obviously from the side-on lens, I said we won't see that there is a gap. But front on and from the top, it's easy to see that there is a good gap between me and my partner. What sells the headbutt is of course my partner's reaction. And so I don't want to go in too deep, but I also don't want to be too shallow. I want to create a gap in the front either. So I want to make sure that my head is between the lens and my partner's head, and the partner gives me a good reaction. So as I move in, we're going to do it first at half speed. What obviously favor the front of my head because that's how I'm hitting, and the partner is going to react to it. It's important that my partner reacts. He reacts again around the neck area first. So the head tilts back as the reaction really sells the headbutt. So if I'm in here, this is what we're looking for. Always a good gap, as you can see from the top camera, but as you can see from side on, so it sells the headbutt. So common mistakes is I'm not deep enough, so there's too much of a gap in front. Or I'm too deep, so it doesn't sell either. It looks like I'm hit, but because my head is way past my partner's, it doesn't look like I'm hit. So give it also a little wind-up motion, because you're trying to sell that the headbutt is coming with a lot of velocity, with a lot of momentum. And so instead of just going forward like this and jumping into the headbutt, I'm going to wind back a little bit and then come forward. It's almost like show wrestling, like WWE wrestling, right? Where they're winding up and then they're going. So I want to do the same, not too much, but a little bit. So I kind of wind up a little bit and I come in with my head. I could be doing the same as I did on the other side. Just gonna swap here. So now this time, as you can see here, so this time I'm gonna be on the other side of my partner's head, but it's still gonna sell the same. What I can do from this side as well is I don't always have necessarily to come straight in as I hit. I can also now come across, I can banana a little bit. Which means with my head again, there's going to be a good safety gap. But it's almost like with a punch, where I'm heading towards the outside of partner's face and then I come to the front. And so this time I'm going to do the same just with my head. So as I come in, I'm going to wind up, and as I'm here, I'm going to go through the face. Like that, still a really good safety gap, but it looks like I said now the headbutt came sideways, it didn't come straight on. So just from here, coming through. And I said I could also just go straight forward, right? Always leaving a good gap between then my partner and my partner selling it. So it all kind of happens in this area around the head and neck. So really important to warm up. Make sure you have really warm head and neck. Practice your reactions as always first. Make sure you have a good snap into the person reacting. Also make sure that you can tighten up your neck as you go forward and give it a really good forward reaction. Sometimes good to practice on a pad, or I said even just on partner's hand. So if my partner puts their hand out, just here, to make sure that they're protected. If I was doing a side-on one, I can always practice on the hand first, just to get it right. Then I could also practice using the hand as a safety gap. So here's my safety gap, the hand is here, and I'm just practicing the action to make sure that I know where I have to stop or wind back afterwards as I'm pulling my head through. As soon as I've kind of memorized where the safety gap is, then I can get rid of the hand, and now me and my partner have a good idea, I said, that a headbutt should be. It's always good to practice with the hand, even just in free space. It's a little good safety aid that you can use just to practice your headbutts before you do them on screen.